And today we are going to have about 1 hour discussion. Dawn and Dave will give us some talk, and then also Hannah will share a story about the University program. And then around 10:30 we are going to have the discussion with Steve Garber. And then the discussion will be led by Juan. And after the discussion, the food will come. So we are going to have some nice food, and then we can talk a lot, and then we can have a panel discussion in a very family-like kind of atmosphere. So let's start this presentation, and then let's give a big hand to Dawn.
Thank you very much, everyone. It's great to see you all this morning, and thanks for coming back. Because you're the survivors, right? Yeah. I think Professor Shin yesterday was talking about how you have to have the quality of surviving, right? So you all passed the test to be entrepreneurs. So it's good to see you. And as Professor Shin said, I'll be speaking, Dave is speaking, Hannah is speaking, and then we will have a panel discussion after the break. So just to kind of get a gauge of who, I feel like I'm probably speaking to Professor Shin's class for the most part. Is that true? How many are in his class? Okay, so from over there, okay. And students from other universities, could you raise your hand as well? Okay. And then teachers, professors? One, okay. And then we have a couple of corporate individuals here as well. Thank you for coming. Okay, just want to kind of get a gauge of who is all here. So you may or may not know from yesterday that my role through Just Business, not for sale, is to lead a internship program called the Global Entrepreneurship Immersion Program. And it's a program whereby I recruit students from Korea to come to San Francisco. And in San Francisco, we've given them for the past 2 years an experience in social entrepreneurship. Dave teaches that class. I teach a class that integrates the internship experience that the students go through with their personal and professional growth. So we do that as well. And I also then match up students who come to the internship with companies in our invention hub in San Francisco. You may or may not know we have a kind of a shared co-working space in San Francisco called the Invention Hub. We have companies there, startup entrepreneurs lease the space from us, and then I'll match the students up with companies in the hub. So they get a 16-week internship experience, they get classroom experience, they get academic credit. And so for the past 2 years, that's what we've been doing through the Global Entrepreneurship Immersion Program. So my role in that program has been more to, again, teach this integrated seminar class. Dave teaches the social entrepreneurship class. He'll talk more about his experiences with students in that capacity. And my comments will focus more on my experience working with students in that particular class that I teach. So, as I mentioned, this was a program we started a couple of years ago. And the comments I'm going to make are really from my experience working with students in those past couple of years. I have a background in academics. I worked at USC in Southern California, University of Southern California in Los Angeles for 25 years. And I probably shouldn't say 25 because then you're going to guess my age. So, I'm just kidding. And in that, working at USC was a combination of a teaching role and also administrative roles, director roles at medical school, engineering school, counseling advice, and etc. I also have a counseling psychology background, so I was a psychologist for 10 years as well. So I tend to see a lot of the issues that students have through the lens of the psychological, sociological, cultural sort of issues. So some of the comments that I'll be talking about this morning have that kind of a to it as well. I also want to preface my remarks about what I've observed with the students in our program by saying that I think a lot of students have some of the behavior patterns I'm going to be talking about, not just the Korean students who are in this program. Over the years, working with students in an academic setting, I've seen some of these same traits. I also feel like some of the behavior patterns we're going to be talking about in a second may not apply to many of you, because my experience of many of you yesterday was that you are very articulate, you're very good in English, and I think some of the comments I have to make come from a place where some of the students were not maybe as literate in the English language as maybe you are. So kind of getting into it, one of the kind of behavior patterns, so, okay, one more preface before I get going. I'm going to be speaking more about the challenges that I have observed in students. They have many incredible traits that, I mean, I love the students we have, and they have so many great attributes. I'm going to be speaking more about the challenges and how they could have improved given what they experienced in San Francisco. So, one of the things that, of course, and you're probably going to recognize this correctly right away, is that many of the students that came to San Francisco really struggled with this whole kind of risk-taking sort of, or lack of risk-taking sort of behavior. And of course, as you think about an entrepreneur, and you think about what are the traits that make up a successful entrepreneur. We talked about this yesterday in terms of being innovative and creative and risk-taking, etc. I think the students coming to San Francisco, I've observed that risk-taking is sometimes difficult for them. Not for everybody. So once again, I don't want to generalize to everybody. And I may be speaking to the choir here. But one of the things that we try to do in the program then is to mitigate that, is to call it for what it is. First of all, we talk about the difficulty in maybe taking risks with their projects, with their assignments, and so forth, and how what we value in our educational system in the U.S. Not that it's necessarily right, it's just different. Is kind of more of a you just go for it, and it is more of the entrepreneurship sort of mentality. And put yourself out there with ideas and ask questions in the classroom, and just put yourself out there. One of the benefits of the program, I think, is the personal development that can occur in the lives of students during their 16 weeks. And the more I see them become more open, less afraid, I feel like we're getting somewhere with some of the students. Our program not only has a classroom component, but we also have, as you know, an internship component. And so I see this kind of struggle with taking risks also in their internships too. And in my class, we talk about that quite a bit. And what's that like to be in a situation where you feel like, I don't know if I should really, go for this because what if it doesn't work? So that's okay. Once again, these people who are here are all startup entrepreneurs. They understand how important it is just to put yourself out there, try things, fail as we talked about yesterday. And that whole concept of failure, of course, it doesn't sit well. Again, it doesn't sit well with maybe a lot of great students that I have, seen in LA, in San Francisco. But there are a lot of U.S. students, and I think it's sometimes as much a personality thing as a cultural issue in terms of risk-taking and putting yourself out there. So again, I don't want to generalize to just the Korean students that I've been seeing. But they also have an experience in the guide program to live with American college students. And I've observed also, it's a little scary for them to integrate and put themselves out there again. And then in my class also I'll give them assignments that will try to stretch that capacity of risk-taking. And they have to write about those assignments. So they will talk about what it was like to go out in the community and be part of a project. They have to talk with someone, engage, be inquisitive, come back and write about that experience. And it's just a challenge. And I guess I bring that up to say that, first of all, again, I think that it could be a personality thing, it could be a cultural thing, whatever it is. I think that is something that if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's something to look at and say, can I challenge myself enough? I'm going to feel uncomfortable. I don't think necessarily you're going to feel comfortable putting yourself out there. I think it's scary, but can you put yourself out there enough and go with that uncomfortableness enough to grow a little and to stretch yourself a little and develop a little? And if you can do that more and more, it becomes easier and easier usually. But it's one of the purposes of the internship is to see, for the students to see whether entrepreneurship is for them or not. I mean, we are a social entrepreneurship immersion program in San Francisco, but I don't know if you've been on internships through your college experience, but when you put yourself out there, to me, it's not necessarily about, okay, if I do this, this is what I'm going to have to do for the rest of my life. It's really a checking out time. And so some students in the program may decide that it's not for them, given how it's just too difficult. It's just not me. Or I realize I don't have that passion that social entrepreneurs need to have. And for me, I like to validate that and say that's okay. I mean, that's part of the purpose of going through an internship. But we hope, that you do experience some growth while you're here, especially in this whole area of risk-taking. So whether it's in the classroom, my class, I'm sure David has had similar experiences in this regard. The internship experience, immersion experience, etc. Risk-taking has been something that's been a challenge. But at the same time, the students generally put themselves out. They generally feel at the end of 16 weeks, wow, what a great experience that was. I feel like I did grow and develop. And that's, that makes us feel good because that's one of the goals of the program. Kind of relatedly is this kind of, again, more of a passive versus active participation in the classroom. And it may be linked to risk-taking, it may be separate from that. But what I observed is some students are really hesitant and reluctant to ask questions. And I understand that when I understand more Korean culture and educational structure and the professor as the respected expert in his or her field, I understand that. And there seems to be, kind of a reticence to ask questions, maybe to challenge me when I'm talking about a certain situation, to kind of be inquisitive about a topic that we're discussing because maybe I'm pushing an envelope too much. And so I'm very careful and cautious. Again, characteristics of an entrepreneur, social entrepreneur, is to push, to push that, right? And to ask those questions. And I was very impressed yesterday with how many of you kind of just said, what about this? Because I don't understand this. That's great. I mean, that's where you're going to learn, that's where you're going to grow, that's how you're going to develop. If we don't ask those questions, we're not going to learn. U.S. educational system, if some of you have experienced that, is very much more of a dialogue between a professor and a student, as opposed to, again, this is all kind of generalized sort of comments, because there are professors who are very didactic, and I'm an expert, and you don't question me in the U.S. as well. So it is just a difference sometimes in how we do education. It's also a difference maybe in how you approach someone who has what in your head is a higher status than you, in terms of professor versus student. But I guess what I'm saying is I would like to encourage all of you to ask those questions. That's how you're going to grow and develop and stretch yourself. And when the students have done that, we've seen growth on their part. So it's really encouraging to see that. To a lesser degree, male-female roles have also been interesting to observe in my classroom. Many times, initially at the beginning of the semester, the Korean woman will look at the men to kind of take the lead, or to answer the questions first, as opposed to just taking the lead. Again, this is not in every class and not in every situation, but I'm just thinking in terms of culturally, for the U.S., we went through a period in the 60s where women's rights was really important, and so these days, that's you wouldn't see much of that type of behavior, except for maybe personality traits between men and women. But it's something else that I try to encourage the Korean students to do is say, look, you all have great ideas. And you can all speak whenever you want to speak. There's no restrictions to that. And I hope you feel free to do that. It's a learning experience. We're talking about personality or culture that have been this way for a long, long time. It's not going to change overnight. And so, again, I've observed these behavior patterns among the students in their internship, in a classroom situation, in their housing situation. But the purpose of the program has been for them to grow, develop as individuals, because my belief, being again my psychology background, is the more that we can grow, develop as individuals, we take that person to our work, we take that person into all that we do, and the more that we can take advantages of the opportunities that we have to grow and stretch ourselves and develop and ask those questions and to be persistent and to survive when things get difficult. I think those are the traits that are going to help you succeed in this field of social entrepreneurship. We have found, by the way, through our experience with our program, that the best learning seems to occur, no offense, Dave, not in Dave's class, as much as their experience in San Francisco with all the internship, the immersion assignments that they have. And so, we've been talking about this recently about, we've just recently merged with a organization called Change University. And where right now we're accepting students into San Francisco to do an internship with Not For Sale and to get this social, in just business, to get this social enterprise experience. We are going to start in January 2019 to give experiences in impact internships to students, connect them with internships around the world. So not just in San Francisco, but you could go to Uganda, as talk about the mango planters. You could go to Brazil, you could go to Eastern Western Europe and have an experience with a social enterprise, an impact-driven, purpose-driven company. So we're headed that direction beginning of January because we've seen the value of the internships per se, as even separate from the class, and from the immersion experience, from what we observed in the students. And we're excited about that because, not only because of your own personal professional growth that can occur as a result of that, but also because this is something that down the road, if you're interested in getting involved in this field, you're going to have social enterprises who are going to look at your resume and say, oh wow, this person went to Uganda, or this person went here, got this wonderful experience, and learned this skill set, and seems to really have a passion. So, this person, he or she looks really interesting. I'd like to, have them, be with my company. We think that's a valuable thing to have on your resume down the road, is again, in addition to your own personal professional growth. So that's a direction we're taking in terms of just business and the whole guide program. We're evolving in our understanding of that. So I think I will stop at that point and hand it over to both Dave and or Hannah. I don't know who wants to come up next.
So I'll make mine brief, and it'll just be an addendum.